Hi everybody, in this video we're going to learn how to use OurGuru to find binomial probabilities. So I want to look at some examples we did in a previous video where we learned how to find binomial probabilities using the TI calculator. And finding the binomial probabilities in the TI calculator, it doesn't take a whole lot, but it can be confusing when you're trying to differentiate between using Binom PDF and Binom CDF. And then depending on the type of calculator you have, it may or may not give you prompts. So then you have to know exactly what you're supposed to put in, meaning you're supposed to put the number of trials in first, followed by the probability of a success, followed by the X value. And so sometimes that can get a little bit confusing. So and it takes practice and you can get it, but enter OurGuru to save the day. OurGuru is really awesome in finding binomial probabilities. So just to remind you, a binomial probability is one involving an experiment where there's a fixed number of trials. There's only two outcomes. One's a success, one's a failure. The probability of a success is the same for every trial, and the trials are independent. Okay, so here on the screen we have example 4. Again, something that we've worked in the past. So it describes a binomial experiment. In this case, at a particular airport, 81% of the flights arrived on time last year. If 15 flights are randomly selected, find the probability that A, exactly 10 of the flights are on time. So binomial experiment because, one, there is a fixed number of trials. There are 15 flights. So that is a fixed number of trials. There are two outcomes. The flights are arriving on time or they're not arriving on time. And the probability of a success of arriving on time is the same for every trial, 81%, and the trials are independent. Okay, so just to remind you how we did this before, we would go to our calculator for exactly 10, the probability of exactly 10, and we would choose Binom PDF because it's an exact number of successes. And then we would put in the number of trials followed by the probability of a success followed by that 10. Again, doing this, though, requires you to know that it's supposed to be Binom PDF rather than CDF. Okay, so let me just show you OurGuru. It's a little bit different, but it involves entering basically the same numbers, but you don't have to know whether it's Binom PDF or CDF. So in OurGuru, to do a binomial probability, you're going to click on the Probability Simulation tab. And then in the drop-down menu where it says probability, you are going to go to probability calculator, and then another menu will pop up to the right. It'll say continuous and discrete, choose discrete. And then of course our OurGuru box will pop up. It says discrete distributions probability calculator. There's already a box here so you can name your calculation. So what you can do is you can name your calculation if you want. I'm just going to leave it calculation 1. And then as we do calculations, you can either edit this current calculation to do more problems, or you can add a new calculation for every problem that you do. It's up to you. You want to make sure that we're going from values to probability. So make sure that's what is chosen. And then under distribution, make sure it says binomial. If not, click on binomial in the drop down. And then you'll notice it says number of trials. Okay, how many trials were there? There were 15. And the probability of a success was 81%. So remember, we have to enter that as a decimal. So there we go, 81%. And then we have a little drop down here where we can choose equal, below, above, between, outside. So going back, it said, what's the probability of exactly 10? So exactly 10 is another way of saying equaling 10. So we're going to choose equals and then choose 10. I'm going to hit enter. And there's my probability, 0.0904. Let's just double check. 0.0904 is what we got with the TI. Now let me show you one other cool thing about this particular calculation that happened. You can see there's a check box next to graph. So I'm going to check that, and then I'm going to hit the preview button again. this time you'll see a histogram that is graphed. So basically, the histogram is where we are graphing the probability, which is the same as the relative frequency, for each one of the potential successes. So in this case, the probability of 10 successes went up to I believe 0.09, what was it? 0.0904. So that's approximately that, the shaded bar. Okay, you can also see that it's listed here as well. It's actually listed in several places as you're going down. So I'm going to go back to basics. And then if I wanted to, I can just, when I do the next problem, I can just, let's see what the next problem says. What's the probability of exactly 12? I can say, okay, well, that's going to be equal 12. So I'm just going to change the number. And then I'm going to hit the preview button. And the probability this time is 0.2489. And you can see that that is what is shaded here, is the probability of 12 successes. Let's go on to one more. Okay, so let's look at C. The probability of 11 or fewer flights are on time. So that was a binomial CDF problem. So for binomial CDF, it's a cumulative function. It's where we would add the probabilities of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And so for the X, we would know to put in 11 because that's where you want it to stop adding. You want it to start adding at 0, stop adding at 11. And we got 0.3146. So let's go back to OurGuru. Instead of changing this over here on the right hand side, I'm just going to make a new calculation just to show you that's another thing you can do. So you can just add a calculation, which I did. Number of trials was 15. The probability of a success is 0.81. And this time we want the probability that it is 11 or fewer. So fewer would be below. So I'm going to choose below. Below what? 11. Now here's something really important. So there's this little check box here. And so it means include the value. So when we say 11 or fewer, does that include 11? Well, 11 or fewer would be 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So it does include 11, so I want to check that box. If it didn't include 11, I would uncheck the box. So I'm going to check it again. I'm going to hit graph because I think the graph is very helpful as a visual. I'm going to hit the preview. And so because I did a second calculation, you have to scroll down to find this graph. So you can see first that they're saying that the probability that it's less than or equal to 11 is 0.3146, which is the same thing that we got with the TI calculator. But this is what I think is really cool. And this is also a way for you to kind of check to make sure that you did this correctly. So if you look, they have graphed all the probabilities that we would have added together to find this specific probability. And so just ask yourself, are the shaded bars, are those the one that satisfy what we're finding the probability of? Are those the ones that are 11 or fewer? So yes, that is 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. You can't see the ones to the left, but that's okay. It's because the probabilities are just so small. So again, you can see that it is adding up the probabilities from 11 on down. And so that is a way you can kind of check because you've got that visual. With the TI calculator, you did not. Okay, so let's do another one. Moving on to D, probability of fewer than 10. So fewer than 10 is, so we're going to hit basics, and then I'm going to do below 10. So fewer than 10 does not include 10. So I'm going to uncheck the box. So fewer than 10. And I didn't have to change, since I'm just going to keep it on calculation 2, I didn't have to change any of this. So again, if you want to save it, you can keep adding new calculations, or you can just edit, the calculation that you have up if you want. So fewer than 10, 10 is not fewer than 10. 10 is equal to 10. So fewer than 10 would be 9 or less. So I'm going to hit the preview button and scroll down to my second one. And so you can see that they're shading fewer than 10. So 9, 8, 7, 6. And the answer would be 0.04903. And we got 0.0490. Same thing. All right, so if you'll recall, when we did anything that involved a probability of more than with binomials, you had to find the complement because the TI calculator only finds the probability of fewer than X. Whatever the X value is that you put in there, that number or fewer, right? So like if you put in 3, it's going to find the probability of 0, 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't find any probabilities that are greater than that. And so in those cases, if you'll remember, we had to figure out the complement and then find the probability of the complement and then subtract that from 1, and that can get a little confusing. So let's look at OurGuru. What's the probability that more than 9 are on time? So I'm just going to go back to basics. And I'm going to choose more than this time. So more than would be above. Above what? 9. Let me just look. More than 9 does not include 9. So more than 9 would be 10, 11, 12. So I'm going to uncheck the include button and I'm going to hit the preview. And looking at calculation 2, I can see that the numbers here that we're graphing are more than 9. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And that probability was 0.951. Same thing that we got with the TI calculator. And we'll do one more. What's the probability of 11 or more flights are on time? 11 or more. So clicking on basics again, I'm going to say above 11. And that it said 11 or more. So that does include 11. So I'm going to check the box. And I'm going to hit the preview, and you can see it's shaded 11 or more. So I know that I set it up correctly. So we get 0.8606, which, ta-da, same thing we got before. So again, you're welcome to use the TI calculator. I have no problem with that. Your feedback from Newton is going to give you feedback using that particular calculator. However, I think perhaps you can see how OurGuru may be very helpful in helping this process be a little bit more user-friendly than the TI calculator. So if you would prefer to use OurGuru, definitely do that. Like I said, I think it's awesome, not just because you don't have to worry about the difference between Binom PDF and CDF. I think it's definitely more user-friendly that way. But what I love is that it also gives you that visual so you can see when you find the probability and you've set it up, you can see what exactly has been added together by seeing what has been shaded. And if you look at it, you realize, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to include the 11. You can go back to the basics button and you can uncheck that box. Anyway, so just real quick, going back through the steps, I'm going to close those out. So you would, to do a binomial probability, you would click on probability simulation, click on the probability drop down and choose probability calculator and then choose discrete. Make sure values to probability is what is chosen. Make sure the distribution says binomial. Enter the number of trials. Enter the probability of a success. And then after that, just, click on that drop down and choose whether it's equal, below, above, between, or outside. We pretty much focus on equal, below, or above. And then once you figure that out, then you put in above what or below what, some number. I'm just going to say below 12, and then you decide whether that number is included or not. And then if it's included, check the box. If it's not included, uncheck the box. And then you hit the preview button and you'll get the probability here like a calculator, or you can hit the graph button and then preview, and you can get not only the probability but also the visual. And so what you see here is I've just found the probability that it's more than 12. The numbers that are more than 12 in these trials are 13, 14, and 15, and that's what's being added together here, and that probability is 0.4365. Okay, so that is all that I have. Enjoy OurGuru. I think it is amazing and fabulous, and I hope that you think so too. All right, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Don't forget we have a Padlet wall that I am happy to answer questions on. Nobody is asking any questions there, and I would be happy for you to ask the questions there, and so that I can answer them for the benefit of not just you, but the entire class. Okay? All right. Have a great week.